Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I just want to make a quick video on 4 of my main bow builds for Titan. And the reason why I never really make a bow Titan video is because they all generally suck. And whenever I play with bow on a Titan, it feels like I just want to put on a pulse rifle. So let's start with this one, which looks very promising because you use a hipfire bow with Lion Rampant, which means that you can hipfire in the air and have a lot of AE and stuff like that. Until you realize you don't really have an air dodge tool on Titan. So that means you're just an easy target while you're jumping up in the air, right? You have the Frenzied Blade. You have 3 charges of Frenzied Blade, but you only start with at the start of the match. And it also have the longest melee cooldown in the game. I have Into the Fray and Bed of War to play with the Wombo combo playstyle on grapple, similar to the Strand Hunter build. And I also have Heritage here with Hipfire Grip, so I can hipfire while in the air using Lion Rampant. Again, this build, although it looks good, when you actually play with it, it's just not that great because most of the times you would just be AFK waiting for your abilities, and if you're not playing with your abilities, you're probably just using a bow normally 40 meters away from your enemy, just tagging them for 100 to 150 damage. And you guys know me, I like to play bows aggressively, and with this build it just feels so slow and it's just not fun. Every time I play with this build, I would just swap over to this build 2 minutes later. Why? Because most of the movement tech on Titan is just better without a bow, and part of the reason why Titans feel so sluggish with a bow is because you need to draw the bow to use it, and most of the movement tech that Titans have requires you to sprint. They don't really have a lot of burst movement outside of thrusters and the stasis melee. All of these are just long cooldowns except for the thrusters, and even if you are using thrusters, they are only exclusive if you are on the ground. So basically, when you're using a bow, you want to draw the bow, and if you're drawing the bow, you can't sprint, therefore you can't activate things like Seismic Strike. There's probably someone out there that's trying to use a bow with Antaeus Ward so you can slide longer and then like quickly Seismic Strike back to cover, but since they nerf Shoulder Charge to eat a portion of your melee ability every single time you use it, that playstyle is probably not that good. Which is why using a weapon that can kill without going back in and out of cover is generally just better. Just use No Time to Explain, or even better, use Igneous Hammer, because 120s are crazy right now. Moving on to the second build here, which is arguably the best bow build that I found. Now, the gameplay loop of this build is that you use Wish Under to see someone behind cover, and then you shoot them for over 150 damage. You swap over to Shayura's Wrath, you double headshot them and they die. You have the maximum possible ready speed from Peacekeepers, which I don't think stacks with Quick Draw. I think I tested this at one point, but I do have 1 kinetic dexterity in order to stow my Wish Under faster because this does have a really low handling. Other than that, every time I use this build, it just feels like I just use the SMG and never really use the Wish Under. And half the time, if I use this build, I occasionally just swap over to a sniper rifle, which then again, if you swap over to sniper rifle, this build just looks like an average Titan build, right? Sentinel Titan on Peacekeepers and an SMG. But the only difference is that you can actually get an entry frag at the beginning of a Trials run, which usually just wins you the game anyways. And the reason you want the Sentinel subclass here is because you can pop Bubble. Not only that this is an S tier super for Trials, it also provides you with enough damage buff to one-shot headshot Guardians at a certain resilience using Wish Under. And last but not least, importantly, this is not an aggressive build. And if you guys know me, I like using bows aggressively. And if I'm not using it aggressively, I might as well just use a pulse rifle. Moving on to this build, which is a swashbuckler build using the Peregrine greaves, which, you know, a bird exotic. You know, Hynra can fly, and then I'm using a bird-centric exotic, you know, really cool reference there. And then I have Shield Bash in order to one-shot people using the exotic. I can also generate orbs using Heavy-Handed in order to proc the Echo of Starvation, allowing me to have Devour. So I have Swashbuckler, allowing my bow to one-shot headshot, and I can also regenerate my health using Devour. The problem with this build is that, sure, it sounds cool when you do get the Swashbuckler, and it sounds cool when you do get the Devour, but half the time, you're using the bow normally. And if you're using the bow normally on a Titan, it just generally just feels bad, because you're sacrificing so much of your neutral playstyle for this melee-centric potential. And the only reason why I have Wave Splitter here is just to make the build look more interesting. I never really used Trace Rifle ever since the Witch Queen changes, which no longer allows you to put Scavenger mods on, so just swap to an SMG. And again, this becomes an SMG build instead of a bow build. And moving on to the last build, which also has an SMG as your main weapon. With this build, the only difference is that you use Ballistic Slam with Synthos in order to get Swashbuckler. Maybe you'll proc Skulking Wolf, maybe not, who knows. And since you're using an arc bow on an arc subclass, you can use harmonic mods, and that's pretty much it. There's also another version of this build that uses a towering barricade and then using the thunderclap melee. Now, what you can do with barricade and thunderclap is that you can sit behind a barricade, charge your thunderclap, and then since the animation for thunderclap allows you to go through the barricade, it'll like hit whatever is behind that barricade. So you can one-shot people using this melee if you charge it enough, or you can just use the bow to prime 100 damage and then instantly thunderclap them to proc Swashbuckler. A couple of my clanmates also tried this build using the Skull Fort in order to heal yourself and get the melee back, but again, you're too focused on this Swashbuckler playstyle that your neutral playstyle is just so bad to the point where you just rather use something like an SMG. So yeah, anyways, in conclusion, all my Titan builds are either shit or they have an SMG. And if they have an SMG, you might as well not use the bow and swap it to like a sniper rifle. Anyways, that's about it for the Titan bow build. I'm probably never going to make a Titan bow build again in the future unless they change something on Titan or they add something. But in the next video, I'm probably going to be talking about my Strand Hunter build, an updated version. I did play this version yesterday on stream. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
No, I don't like this.
I might be able to push her, yeah. Nice. Good. I don't know how I survived that, but that looks cool. I hit him for 100. I want to push in here just because we got a kill. Nice. Nice! Do this just because last time I did it, I was too slow. Yeah, bro. And of course, I climb up. But in a while, I mean like a week. I'm gonna push here because I don't feel threatened by their team comp enough to care. I know that's kind of like disrespectful, but what can I say?